We are now going on our third year of fantastic people that I have interviewed, men, women from all across the world. And we're always talking about the concept that patterns that are created in childhood impact us as grown-ups. And sometimes people don't want to talk about that stuff, but the truth is we are who we are, and it drives everything in our lives. How we deal with conflict, how we deal with interpersonal relationships, how we deal with our professions, everything. So I have a wonderful guest today. Her name is Shannon Power, and she is the Chief Financial Officer at Scope AR, which is a cutting-edge technology leader in augmented reality software for the enterprise. She's a transformational leader, change maker at the intersection, and this is good, strategy, operations, and finance. That's quite a bunch of things, Shannon, that you do. Her superpower is building, rebuilding, and reviving small, medium, and large-sized companies to empower them to thrive. Shannon turns great technology into great business. Oh, I love that. So in all of these accomplished roles, the common thread is solving extremely challenging, complex, and large-scale problems, strategically and operationally. Shannon's unique approach of leveraging people and culture while driving complex change is how she creates lasting impact for every transformation. So Shannon and I met at a barbecue and we sat down to talk and we didn't stop. So thus, welcome, Shannon. This is so lovely, lovely, lovely to have you here.
No, I'm so happy to be here. So thank you, Tina.
Yeah. So I always start with the same question.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your background and your family of origin. And then we're going to kind of get to how has this family of origin impacted you in your leadership role?
All right. So I am originally from New Jersey. That's where I grew up. Middle class family, teacher and a public housing authority worker. So we were definitely middle class. Education was heavily stressed, hence my mother being the teacher. And it was also, my parents worked hard and I saw it. And one of the things that was really stressed was that if I wanted to change my situation, if I wasn't happy with where we were, or if I wanted to go anywhere, education was how you got there. And so good grades were definitely emphasized. But also too, I was also into sports as well, and had the opportunity to be part of some really, elite teams.
What was your sport?
It was actually both soccer and people laugh at me, but competitive cheerleading. But we were the real deal. Like we were even in the local newspaper because we went to nationals and it was a co-ed squad. And so talk about work ethic. I had the type of coach that would keep us in the gym at the school till 11 plus at night until we got it perfect. And so I think between the emphasis on academic achievement and the emphasis on sports achievement, I definitely grabbed onto that overachiever, which I still hold on to today. I had to let go of the perfectionist. I consider myself a recovering perfectionist because as I got older,
are exactly. Yes.
I realized perfectionism is, perfect is usually the enemy of progress and of good. And I realized how it also had the negative effects of that. And so I think over the last several decades, I've, let go of that.
Right.
But it's still lurking in that little overachiever of mine.
So again, we're looking at these patterns, right? And it actually worked for you, right?
No, absolutely. I
right?
mean, I got into a top engineering school for undergrad, and got to work at some top companies right out as an engineer, and was like, okay, and do it, and let me get my master's, and let me go do an MBA, and and at one point I was working full time as an engineer at Intel while also doing a full-time MBA program. I mean, that's kind of intense. And so,
Okay, let me stop you for a second because I want to ask you a question. So
yeah.
this was sort of your MO, right? This is what you
Oh,
did. Just the natural, normal thing that you did, right? Is
yeah,
to achieve, to strive, to strive.
yeah.
What happened that kind of, or did anything happen that kind of woke you up a little bit that maybe you could do it a different way?
Honestly, I think it was that moment in grad school while I was realizing, like, oh my gosh, I've had no life, literally no life for 2 years,
Mm,
because to be at an intense, and Intel has a pretty intense culture, or at least it did 20 years ago,
mm,
when I was doing this. And, and also to be top of my class for MBA, because there are no other grades other than A's, right?
right.
And so it was during that time that I kind of went, whoa, okay, you know, I haven't explored, anything else during this time. And so shortly after, actually, I got my MBA, and I ended up resigning from Intel and went and started a career as a financial consultant.
Oh,
And so I completely pivoted and I moved, and because I was always traveling for work, or I lived wherever work brought me.
mhm,
And I mean, there were certain places where I was like, I had to look at a map even because I was like, I don't know where this place is, but I'm moving there. And so I wanted to live in Los Angeles, and I wanted to, I was going to change careers, but I also wanted to take a career. And the reason I joined a consulting firm was because I wanted to see what else was out there. I was working in semiconductor manufacturing for 7 years, and then I had not explored any other industry. Like I said, I was living in places where my company was choosing it for me, and I wanted to make choices for myself I think, for the first time in my career and really in my life. And so moved to Los Angeles because it seemed fun. It was I grew up on the Jersey Shore, so I definitely had the beach in my DNA. And so, but also LA seemed to offer a lot of different
right.
things. And
Again,
so,
I'm going to ask you another question. What about a social life? Okay, as you, as you were, so,
oh, that. I mean, I think I made a lot of really amazing friends when I first moved. So my first job out of college was actually working at Motorola, which is when they had semiconductor manufacturing. And there were several of us who were in this engineering program, and we were all there together. We were in Phoenix, Arizona. Most of us had never been to Phoenix, Arizona before. And back then, there wasn't so much going on. So we all kind of gravitated towards each other. And I am still friends with, I'd say, 10 of those folks. We regularly get together wherever we are. We're all over the world now, of course, but we have remained friends, and we've been each other's support systems. And it's been so amazing to see where everybody has gone and
sure. Yeah,
paths that everybody has taken. And as everybody has really found their groove and figured out what their zone of genius is. I feel like that's one thing I talk to my team about a whole lot. Everybody has a zone of genius, and you just got to find, what yours is and really just grab onto
Okay.
that.
So again, we're just going to spread this out a little bit in terms of, I know that culture is really important to you and team building is really important to you, and being a woman in the position that you've been is really, really important to you. What were some of the conflicts that you had to deal with or have to deal with being in the position that you are, being a woman leader? How do you, I always say that leadership is you have about as much room as a crease on a pair of pants. Every group wants the leader, and every group wants to kill the leader off. So when a leader gets a little too strong, sometimes, right, people will sabotage and scapegoat and do all kinds of other interesting things. So how have you sort of navigated this pathway?
Um, I definitely learned some lessons early on, because I I was raised that you could do anything and be anything, and gender wasn't important. So I came across some things that kind of knocked me sideways, even through undergrad and through, of course, being a female engineer, and also too being how do I say it, a highly social engineer, regardless of gender. And I think what I learned to do was to, again, lean on my strengths. And that's actually how I was able to pivot into strategy, into operations, into, even in finance, because I have the technical background. So I've always worked in tech somehow.
Mhm.
But I was able to lean on my strengths, which were I could talk to just about anybody in the company. And they also started coming back to me to say, hey, can you give me some more input on this, and this? Can you tell me what's really going on with that? And that's actually how I started learning more about things and even thought to go get my MBA and then transition. But I definitely have faced adversity and have had people underestimate me because I'm a woman. I've also been, I had the whole gamut. Oh, she's a diversity hire. Oh, it was a diversity promotion. And that I've actually used the underestimation of me to my advantage by I love a quote it's a quote just popped into my head from Steve Martin. He says, be so good that they can't ignore you.
Right.
And that's what I've done. I tapped into that overachiever of mine. And, the data is the data. This is what I've done. These are the things that I've achieved. These are the things that I've been able to do. And then when I got to a management position, though, my management style is definitely different so I came up through the command and control
Mhm.
leadership style that was
Yeah.
very popular a few decades ago. And I rejected that. And when I had my teams, I would like put an umbrella over them and protect them from that command and control as much as I could, and then create this team environment of empowerment, of idea sharing. And of course, coming from a technical background, I was a smart person, but I definitely didn't have all the answers. And I was at least smart enough to know to hire smart people and to get them on my team and to leverage their expertise and their experience and to share ideas and to create that psychological safety within the team so that we had those open conversations and we could, as a team, get to the solution that we needed to get to. And
let me ask you another question. So what you're talking about, and we've talked about this a little bit, is emotional intelligence,
yes.
right?
Mhm.
And I think we women in general, and again, this is a big generalization, it comes more natural to many women than it does to many men, just in terms of the way that we're raised and the way that we are designed. Actually, women are, we take it in, we receive, and the men are the ones that kind of go after the stuff. Um, so with that level of emotional intelligence, you're talking about things that to somebody, for somebody like me, it's like common sense.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you, build up your people, but get the smartest people, do all the things that you're really talking about that actually work.
Yes.
They work. So how do you deal with people who just don't see it that way?
That it's hard. Usually it's showing them the results. Again, going back to the results don't really lie, as far as what we need to achieve. However, there have been times, I'll say, where, like I said, I've had to protect my team and my team's culture even more, than other times. I've had certain managers who were they were command and control all through and through. It was part of their DNA practically. And were not open to hearing new ways of doing things. They've been doing this for 30 years, for 40 years. This is how it works. And I've taken the brunt of it to save my team, for lack of a better term, and enabled us to still have the type of results that we had. Luckily, I was able to have amazing mentors and sponsors
Actually, yes.
in other areas that could consult, that could help me just vent some days, give me different perspectives. That would also, and I say sponsors as different than mentors, because like the sponsors could even go and have other conversations with my manager, the command control person, and let them know that no, they're doing great work, and hear it objectively. So they would back off a little bit, to give us room to actually prove that there are other ways to do things other than just path A. And which I don't feel like I would be where I am today without those amazing mentors, who are the people who can help and guide you through your career. But then the sponsors are the ones in the room that you're not in, right? Who are having those conversations about you, or raising, or saying your name in those rooms, so that others will know, kind of as an objective, validation or verification that, oh no, she's
doing okay. She's all
yeah, she's doing
right.
all right. So
Okay, another question. People say that we learn the most from what we consider our failures. Can you share with us one biggest lesson or one story where you have learned something that initially you thought was just, wow?
um this actually, I had to learn it for myself, about not being the importance of the mentors and the sponsors. I had to learn that for myself. Um, Again, starting out as the only or the one is hard, and you really feel it, especially in the tech world, in an engineering group. And I didn't have people that looked like me in leadership positions that I could necessarily count on. I even had someone who outwardly tried to sabotage me early on in my career. And so I was going it alone, and I put my head down, and I, plowed ahead, and I got yet another, go get another master's degree, because going back to my roots, education is the way for everything. And then it was finally, you know what? I'm not going to get to where I need without building those relationships and without having that help, and realizing that the decisions about me and my career are going to be made in rooms that I am not in. And so I need to actively go seek out those that have either attributes, skills, expertise, experience in things that I would like to have, and build those relationships and ask for help, which I think it's still hard. And they say women have a hard time doing that. I don't know if it's a gender thing or the way we're socially conditioned, but it's like we're just supposed to go figure it out. But
I think in general, being vulnerable is difficult for everybody in some way, shape, form, or another. I
oh,
mean, that's exactly what it is. And especially going against the perfectionist model, that I'm good at
oh,
everything, and I can do this and I can do this. I can just put my head down and do it. So yeah, being vulnerable and asking for help, certainly in my world, actually is a sign of strength.
yes, I keep telling myself that. Sometimes it's easier
Yeah.
than
Well,
others.
again, this little saying, we have to be strong enough to be vulnerable.
Yeah,
Yeah, right?
yeah,
So to be able
I
to
like
take
that.
it, hear it, yeah, I can take
I
that
like
in.
that.
I can listen.
Mhm.
So we have time just for another question or so, but before I kind of open it up to Adriana, who is our live guest here, um, what you have kind of talked about, Shannon, and it's really perfect for where we are in our world and our time, and looking at all the issues that you have walked through and are still walking through, I'm sure. But at this point, you have figured some things out that work,
Mhm.
and you're a wonderful role model for other women, honestly.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
truly, 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 being able to kind of look around and do the things that great leaders do. And again, we come back to, well, why wouldn't everybody do this? This makes common sense. But I
Yeah.
learned that common sense is actually a gift. I never knew that until I was about 30 years old. It's like, really? How do you know that? I don't know. How do you not know it? It's right in front of you.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
navigating the world of differences and people, and the way that we look at the world, takes talent and listening and all the things that you have really kind of worked on. I want
Yeah.
people to know that we don't come out of it's not like magic. You look at sometimes people, oh, look at this person, oh, they have everything. And no, they worked for it in some way, shape, form, or another.
Oh,
So,
yeah. The overnight success that takes 20 years,
right.
right? So, yeah, I definitely didn't come to all of this, like a bolt of lightning,
Right.
right? It was decades of, okay, let me try this, or let me try that, or oh, that didn't work.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's the decades of experience that brings
Exactly.
the expertise.
Adriana, do you have any last comments, words,
I
thoughts?
do. I do have a question, and I don't know where I thought of this, but this is the question I have. So if you found a clone of yourself in today in 2024,
Mhm.
and assuming that 2024 in some ways is very different than, let's say, 20 or 25 years ago, in some ways it's the same, in some ways it's different. What would you tell that woman, knowing what you know now, in terms of what she should consider doing in order to achieve success?
Oh, right from the very beginning, get your mentors, get your sponsors lined up, like in undergrad, and go find them in your first, in your first job. I feel like that's when my career took off, was when I finally embraced that and allowed myself to. It was almost like, yes, I did this and I did it all by myself, but it was almost tragically where if I had just been strong enough to be vulnerable, that I think I would have it would have taken off so much sooner, and I probably wouldn't have had to have all the struggle that I did have, because I didn't have those that had walked the path before me, to be able to tell me that, oh yeah, that's normal, or don't worry, blah, 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 this, it's not a big deal.
They
So,
normalized it for you is
yeah.
really what they're saying,
Oh yeah.
You
And
wouldn't
that's what,
know. How would you know?
no, and that's what, and now, I mean, I have the most amazing network of executive women. It's through this group called High Power. And we all, however each other needs each other, because there just aren't enough women executives out there, and we are each other's support networks. And we take turns being the mentor, mentee, or sponsor or sounding board, and it's amazing.
I do say, and I think, well, and when there's, there's nothing like great women together. Not so great women, not so great. I mean, it's very catty and very, very hurtful, but really, really good women that supporting each other. It is something very special. And you guys have a different, brotherhood in different ways.
Or sisterhood.
But the sisterhood is very strong. And so I love both men and women. But again, being in the presence of a group of strong women, there's such a level of support that we dig in. So,
and I mean, I do have currently some amazing male mentors as well. But yeah, there is that bond for those of us who've lived, who've lived it, you have a level of empathy that even sometimes the guys who see it, you can sympathize, but until you've been in that position,
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to close on this, and I want to thank you for being just wonderful, and thank you, Adriana, for being here and supporting us
No problem.
Under the Hood, where we talk about patterns that are created in childhood impact us as grown-ups, and we learn to deal with inner conflict, with outer conflict, and we build skills, because that's what it takes, is just exactly what you described. You can be really, really smart, which you are, and also smart in other ways, and asking for the help and the support to continue to grow. So thank you so much for being here. This is my favorite time of the week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again.